basically sometimes when I do demonstrations and I do like this, then there's a couple of guys in the audience that say, "Oh no, don't pull out the plugs, you destroy the batch."
We'll never find it again.
Well, but if you know the principle, you can sort of get the same kind of thing. Yeah, it's basically with these patches the difficulty is to get it at the right timing, because very often you have lots and lots of changes in the time, and you have to sort of get control over speeding up and slowing down, and very quickly go from a very quiet phase to a very busy phase and back again. And that's to play a patch like that is not really that easy. It's not just, oh, hey people, it's now you have to sort of go with it.
I have recordings of patches where I still wish I knew what I was doing.
Okay, well basically if you have an oscillator sine wave, let's see, like here, then actually this oscillator can go into the subsonic range. I think that the range is something like 25 kilohertz, the maximum. So I don't hear this, but you can see on the oscilloscope that actually we have a very beautiful sine wave there. So then when you take another, if you use ring modulation and you take another oscillator, sine wave oscillator, also at such a high frequency, then, which we can do with the node procs here, then basically you can you create mirror frequencies. So if you have two frequencies, oscillator 1 and oscillator 2, then you produce two new frequencies. One is the first frequency minus the second, and the other the first plus the second. So, and one is lower. So that is basically here. And in a theremin, this is basically used to create the tone, because you have two ultrasonic sine waves, and one is changed by the antenna, and that's because very high frequencies are much more sensible to the antenna, and then the mix basically creates the effect. So, but you see, we have a really super high pitch here. I don't know if this is what you...
Yeah, I think it was something like that.
Yeah. And then if you modulate this with a sine wave, one of the two, you only have to apply a little bit of modulation. Let's see, of course. And you have sort of like a theremin kind of effect, but with a very pure sine wave. But, okay. I don't really know how useful this one would be. Put it, for instance, in something that has no voltage on the input, or I put a dummy plug in here, then it will actually idea of swing is basically that you have an odd and an even pulse. So you alternate between 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now, if you have a exact square wave, then it's equal. But if you can set the pulse width of that square wave, which you can do with this LFO, you hear that you definitely feel different. Now it becomes excessive. This is the most simple kind of swing that you find on many instruments, and mostly it says percentage, like you can give it 54% of swing or 48 or something. And that's basically that every even beat, every second beat is sort of delayed slightly in time, or it is pushed backwards in time. So, but that is a kind of swing that works but doesn't really do all the jobs, and so yeah, if you want to do more, then basically yeah, you have to think of other ways. And